Northeastern Ogle and southeastern Winnebago County. This until 9:45. A tornado warning continues until 9:30 for central portions of Ogle County, at which point, as it moves out of that warning, it will move into the new warning that is in effect for northeastern Ogle and southeastern portions of Winnebago County. This, folks, does include the city of Rockford. I repeat, this tornado warning does include most of the city of Rockford. If you look at some of the streets here, it does not necessarily affect the westernmost portion or the northwest side of Rockford. So here, at least at the station along Meridian Road, we are not in the warning. Folks in Winnebago, not in the warning. But basically, if you kind of draw this from Kilburn and Auburn, southwestward down toward down Springfield, and then points east of that, you are in this tornado warning. This includes downtown Rockford. This includes all of the south side of Rockford. This includes the entire east side of Rockford. This tornado warning includes all of Loves Park. This tornado warning includes most of McChesney Park, just about all of McChesney Park east of the Rock River. And then, of course, this will continue southeastward. Doesn't include much of Roscoe, includes much of the outlying portions of the village of Roscoe. Let's talk about this storm in depth here as we turn the radar picture on. This storm is one that has a history of producing tornadoes. In fact, it is quite likely that a tornado was occurring near Oregon earlier on. The present location of the storm as of 9:19, and that was about 4 minutes ago, was over Byron, and this is moving to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Now, the rotation is kind of come and gone here within this particular storm. It's been kind of hard to identify on our radar given its location. That said, there have been strong indications of rotation within this storm over the past several moments, and was likely producing a tornado over Oregon about 10 minutes ago. It is likely producing a tornado right now due to the strong rotation that is being detected by National Weather Service Doppler radar. Let's talk about some of the towns that are in the path of this storm. Rockford, including the Rockford Airport. This storm heading our way by about 9:40 this evening. Cherry Valley, 9:50. Loves Park, right around 10 o'clock or thereabouts. Right now, it appears as though the storm, at least the most dangerous part of the storm, is likely occurring just to the north and northeast of Byron. We do see a couple little notches showing up on the radar. We're going to track this here. In fact, pay no attention to those times. We're going to have to zoom out the picture just a little bit so we can give you a more accurate representation of the towns that are in the path of this storm. Now, we have not had confirmed reports of tornadoes yet from this storm, although it has been told to us by the National Weather Service that it is quite likely, or has quite likely, produced a tornado near Oregon and is likely producing a tornado somewhere near or probably just east of Byron. Again, we think for the city of Rockford proper. Now, that's downtown. You can see where the blue little dot is blinking. That's downtown Rockford. So downtown Rockford, that's 9:40. Roscoe, that would be about 9:54. So, of course, you're talking about Loves Park and McChesney Park in between those two times. Let's go a little bit closer in, talk about a couple more towns that are more imminently threatened by this storm. Again, it's heading toward the Rockford Airport first. So we think Rockford Airport, generally speaking, probably about 9:30, 9:35 or thereabouts. Downtown Rockford, probably about 9:45. Loves Park, or I'm sorry, 9:40 for Rockford. Loves Park very, very quickly thereafter. McChesney Park, we're looking at closer to 9:50, and then up toward Roscoe, closer to 10 o'clock here this evening. Tornado warning continues for central portions of Ogle County officially until 9:30 this evening, but the newest warning that was just issued by the National Weather Service is for northeastern portions of Ogle County, southeastern portions of Winnebago County. This includes the city of Rockford until 9:45 this evening, so another 19 minutes left to go. Again, if you are just joining us, we are going to continue our coverage wall to wall until all of the warnings have been taken down. This is a very serious and potentially life-threatening situation. Latest from the National Weather Service, 9:24. radar confirmed tornado heading towards Stillman Valley. Right now, that was 9:24. The indication was a radar confirmed tornado, which means that there was some sort of a debris signature showing up probably just north of Stillman Valley in the area that I'm about to circle right here. I apologize for that. It was a radar confirmed tornado near Stillman Valley, probably just a little bit to the north. Now, it is worth noting that the recent scans have certainly shown some weakening with this particular cell, and that's good news. It's by no means an all clear, not by any stretch of the imagination. The storm near Stillman Valley, moving to the northeast at 45. Don't pay attention to those times because I do have to zoom out once again so we can show the actual, represent the actual speed at which this storm is moving. This storm just about to cross the Ogle-Winnebago County line, about to move out of Ogle County, or at least the possible tornadic part of this storm, about to move out of Ogle County and into Winnebago County. What's dangerous about this storm and why there's such a tornado threat is because there's a warm front that sits essentially right overhead, and that enhances any rotation within any particular storm that gets to fire along that front. And this storm has a history of producing tornadoes. There were many reports of touchdowns, brief touchdowns at that, but touchdowns nonetheless over Whiteside County, extreme Whiteside County, eastern Whiteside County rather, northwestern Lee County. There were fears that there could have been some brief tornado touchdowns. And then from about Oregon on, once the storm reached Oregon, there were some stronger signs showing up on radar that tornadoes may very well be occurring because of the extremely strong nature of the rotation. I'm taking a look back here at the latest from the National Weather Service. It has been noted by the folks at the National Weather Service, and I've kind of seen this in recent scans. At this point, the Weather Service believes that the tornado has lifted and that it no longer poses an immediate threat, but the storm is still a dangerous one. It is continuing to move in an environment that's extremely favorable for rotation. And so even though the tornado or the potential tornado appears likely to have lifted, there still remains enough rotation showing up that it is quite possible that you could have a further flare-up moving forward in time. In fact, as we zoom in here just a little bit, I'm intrigued to note, as we just get a brand new scan in, there does appear that there might be a little bit of tight rotation occurring just south of New Milford. So we'll have to watch out because that is part of the warning here. You see some greens and some reds there. Anytime you see tightly clustered different color schemes going, it's a very classic indicator that you have winds going toward the radar in one part of the storm and away from the radar in another part of the storm. And so that may give you at least some a suspicion that there could be some rotation and the possibility of a tornado. It is 9:30 now, so our first tornado warning, which was in effect for central portions of Ogle County, that has been allowed to expire. Right now, the tornado threat is for extreme northeastern Ogle County, folks in Stillman Valley, Davis Junction, up into Winnebago County, the Rockford Airport, the south and southeast sides of Rockford, and Cherry Valley, as well as portions of Loves Park and McChesney Park. We'll just turn the radar off here rather quickly here so you can just get an approximation of the towns and communities that are in the path of this storm. So we're talking about Davis Junction, perhaps the far north side of Monroe Center, but really more so in rural portions of northeastern Ogle County. We're now then talking about southeastern Winnebago County. This will include the Chicago-Rockford International Airport. This includes New Milford, the south side of the south side of Rockford. This also includes Cherry Valley, and then later on, closer to 10 o'clock, or 9:50, 10 o'clock, Loves Park, McChesney Park, and the outlying portions of Roscoe. Basically, this storm is along and east of Route 251 once you get up to Loves Park and points to the north. So I'm going to leave the radar up here for another moment here, just to give you an approximation of what's going on. As this moves farther to the north and east, it is going to be moving into a less favorable environment for severe weather, for rotation, and less favorable for tornadoes. That said, we're not going to be able to sound the all clear on this storm here for quite some time, unless it completely loses any and all signs of showing any rotation. The National Weather Service's latest update, 9:30, was just sent to us, so less than 2 minutes ago. The severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over between Stillman Valley and the Rockford Airport. Between Stillman Valley and the Rockford Airport, moving to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. This storm still showing some radar indicated rotation, does have a history. I repeat, it does have a history of producing brief tornadoes. And that flying debris will be dangerous for those without shelter. So folks that are in extreme northeastern Ogle County and southeastern Winnebago County, seek shelter immediately. Do not go outside and look for a possible tornado. Tornadoes at nighttime are extremely, extremely dangerous. You need to take shelter now in a basement, in an interior room, away from windows. If you have a bike helmet, a pillow, something to cover your head from the possibility of some flying debris, that is certainly advisable if you do have that. Once again, right now, the most significant or the potentially most dangerous part of the storm is between between Stillman Valley and the Rockford Airport. So we're generally talking about this area right here. That part of the storm is the one that's, if it is still producing a tornado, is the most likely area where a tornado would be occurring. Track that to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour, and we could expect this to reach the southeast side of Rockford here within the next 4 to 5 minutes. For folks in Cherry Valley, right around 9:44. And then as we go into Poplar Grove in Boone County, we're talking closer to the 10 o'clock hour. And you'll notice, for the time being, Boone County is not in a warning at this point in time, and it's unclear whether or not the warning will be extended to continue into Boone County. That is something that we are going to have to watch. We have not been given any sort of we haven't been given much of a hint from the folks at the National Weather Service whether or not that is going to be extended. They have not given us much guidance because, of course, we still have some time in Winnebago County that we have to pay most close attention to this storm. Let's just kind of take a look at some of the rotational characteristics. Not seeing a whole lot here right now. That's good news. So once again, about 5 minutes or so ago, the National Weather Service communicated with us to let us know that it's their belief that there's no longer a tornado on the ground, but there is still enough rotation in the atmosphere, or enough of a favorable environment in the atmosphere, that a tornado could redevelop at any point in time. Within the last minute, the National Weather Service echoes exactly what we were saying, noting that the rotation does continue a weakening trend. They do say, though, that they are going to continue the tornado warning until its scheduled expiration time, which is 9:45. So we still have another 10 minutes for this tornado warning to continue. They will continue, just given the history of this storm that has produced possible tornadoes as far southwest as Whiteside County earlier on. The area of concern here is likely going to stay just south of downtown Rockford, so that is good news. But if I were to draw an area where I would be most concerned about the possibility for this potentially tornadic storm, and again, we say now potentially tornadic storm, I would be talking about folks especially south of Charles Street, basically taking you to the Winnebago-Boone County line across portions of Cherry Valley, and then south toward Black Hawk Road, Mulford, to 11th Street or 251 on the system's far south side. So kind of this area that I've outlined, this is where our most immediate concern will be. So some of the major streets that may be in the path of this potentially tornadic storm, this would be 11th Street, Sandy Hollow, Harrison Avenue, 20th Street, Alpine. This storm could be very well heading. This is quite possibly one that's just about now about to cross bypass 20, somewhere between Main Street and 251. Somewhere between Main Street and 11th Street, maybe a little bit just east, maybe over toward the 20th Street overpass. Somewhere in that neighborhood is where it will cross Highway 20 moving forward. Again, this will head first toward toward Sandy Hollow, and then toward Springfield Road. If it's west of the river, it's Springfield Avenue. East of the river, it becomes Harrison. So for all intents and purposes, let's say Harrison, because it will likely stay east, or the most dangerous portion of the storm will likely stay east of the Rock River and should again bypass just south of downtown Rockford. So mainly talking about the southeast side of Rockford, over toward Cherryvale Mall, and then quite likely including the village of Cherry Valley, and then eventually heading out toward Mulford, Perryville, and eventually East State. This could be something where we see this work closer to East State and Perryville, maybe East State and I-90 over toward the proposed Hard Rock Casino site. This still remains to be seen. We have not had any confirmed reports of tornadoes. That is important to understand that there have not been any confirmed touchdowns in the city of Rockford. The storm has a history of potentially producing brief tornadoes back over Ogle, Lee, and Whiteside counties within the past hour and 15 minutes. But at least in the past several moments, at least the past 5 or 10 minutes, indications have been that there's been a gradual weakening trend with the storm. The rotational characteristics aren't quite as strong as they once were. But still, just out of respect to this storm's history, the National Weather Service is going to let the warning ride until 9:45, its scheduled expiration time. In fact, it is possible that the storm may not even be out of the area by 9:45, and so perhaps an extension time-wise may be necessary, although if that's the case, it may end up being a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself there, but that's just kind of more speculation on my part, at least at this point in time. So a tornado warning for another 6 minutes and 4 seconds for northeastern Ogle County, although I'm very close to being able to say that Ogle County is just about done with the main threat for the storm. This is going to be almost exclusively a Winnebago County threat. And once we get rid of this one storm, that is going to be about it. There is one tiny little cluster of storms that's starting to fire once again over toward Dixon in northwestern Lee County. We'll have to watch those closely as they continue to march northeastward. But of course, our major concern and our most immediate and pressing concern continues over Winnebago County, where a tornado warning does officially continue until 9:45. So we've got about 5 minutes and 20 seconds. We'll gather a look at the rotational characteristics once again. We do not see much. We do not see much here right now. Again, we're mainly looking south and east of downtown Rockford, and we don't see a whole lot that is particularly ominous in the rotation department. This is definitely looking a lot more ragged and a lot more disorganized here at this point in time compared to where it was. I do want to pass along a report, because we did get a brand new report here from law enforcement from the Ogle County, I shouldn't say, I don't know if it's the Ogle County Sheriff's Department or if it's the Oregon Police Department, but law enforcement has reported a tornado 2 miles northeast of Oregon. This was earlier on. 9:13 is the estimated time. Emergency management has confirmed that power lines are down just north of Oregon. So again, this storm does have a history of producing a tornado. In fact, law enforcement reported at 9:13 that this very storm did indeed likely produce a tornado near Oregon. At this point, we don't have much reason to believe that the storm is producing a tornado at the moment. The National Weather Service has made it clear to us that even though the rotation has weakened considerably, that out of respect for what this storm has done for the better part of the last hour or so, over a fairly long duration of time, they are going to keep this tornado warning going until its scheduled 9:45 expiration time. I am not at all concerned about the storms over Greene County. These are entering a much more stable air mass, nor am I concerned about any strengthening taking place as these storms continue northeastward into Boone and Rock counties. I don't anticipate any further strengthening there because the atmosphere there is considerably more stable as well. We're going to have to wait and see what happens on the southern portion of this storm, where the warning continues here for another 3 minutes and 15 seconds. The tornado warning does continue for southeastern Winnebago County, northeastern portions of Ogle County until 9:45. And again, if you are just joining us, the National Weather Service has told us that as of 9:13, law enforcement did report a tornado touchdown north of Oregon. Emergency managers there confirmed power lines were down north of Oregon. That was estimated to have occurred around 9:13. Now, there is a little rotation, according to the National Weather Service, that there's a small area of rotation on the southeast side of Rockford here, but that the storm in all likelihood has crossed the warm front, and so it's entering a more stable environment. And so we're talking about this area right here, just north of New Milford, right along bypass 20 here. This little notch that we see here is where there could be some rotation on the far southeastern side of Rockford, right along Highway 20. Highway 20 and about Alpine, that's where there's some rotation, but because it looks like, because of the weakening trend and because of the fact that it is in all likelihood in an area to the east of the warm front, this storm is likely elevated in nature, and so the tornado threat within it has probably come down quite a bit. That said, we're going to have to keep a very close eye on at least this particular part of the storm along Sandy Hollow and Alpine, heading up north toward Harrison and maybe Broadway, and then eastward toward Mulford and Perryville. That is where there's perhaps a little bit of shallow rotation taking place. We have 90 seconds left of our tornado warning that is in effect here for Ogle, extreme northeastern Ogle, and eastern and southeastern portions of Winnebago County. 90 seconds left, after which point in time we are hopeful that the warning will be allowed to expire without any further event. We will continue to watch closely the thunderstorms that are over, or the little showers, we should not call them thunderstorms, the showers that have developed over southern Ogle and central portions of Lee County the past couple of minutes. These do not pose a significant risk at all. All eyes right now are over Winnebago County. We're very close to being able to sun the all clear in Ogle County, rather, because Ogle County just has the residual cell over Byron, and that is about it. Tornado threat has come down there considerably. We have not received any word from the National Weather Service in Milwaukee that they intend on extending the warnings into Rock County or Walworth County. Again, the atmosphere there much more stable, and so we're not anticipating any strengthening as these continue to move to the northeast. So we are in the final minute of our tornado warning. The National Weather Service has not necessarily tipped their hand on what they plan on doing. So we're all going to find out here at once in about 15 seconds whether this warning will be allowed to expire right on time at 9:45 or whether it will continue into Boone County beyond now. Folks in Belvedere, be ready to take shelter here in case that warning is issued. Here we are, 9:45, and the warning has been allowed to expire as we've now hit 9:45. So happy to report that right now, all warnings have been allowed to expire. There are no reports of any tornado touchdowns in Winnebago County per se. We did receive word just moments ago that the National Weather Service had received a law enforcement report of a tornado touchdown, a brief tornado touchdown near Oregon at about 9:13 this evening, and that storm continued to lift northeastward through Ogle County and into Winnebago County, which did have a tornado warning with it until 9:45, which was just allowed to expire about 30 seconds ago. All right, that is going to wrap up our coverage for now. We will continue to keep a very close eye on these storms as we move forward here for the next several moments ahead. We will break into programming as needed if needed. We anticipate and hope that that's not the case the rest of this evening. We'll have a full update coming up tonight in about 15 minutes on the 23 News Update at 10. Once again, a tornado warning which was in effect for Winnebago County is no longer in effect. It has been allowed to expire on time. The tornado threat has passed, at least for now, from that storm, although a tornado watch does continue here for another few hours' time. Much more to come at the top of the hour. Until then,